continue to remember and reflect on the life and work of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, it is important to remember that he would have served as an officer for 29 years before retiring in 2010. Throughout his service, he completed various military and aviation courses. His dedication was recognized with the Military Efficiency Medal in 1997 and would have been awarded during his 16th year of service. He also received the 40th Anniversary Medal. Returning to service in 2011, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles dedicated the last 12 years to the GDF Air Corps. His expertise proved invaluable in search and rescue operations and medical evacuations. His extensive aviation training included commercial pilot certification in China, the Bell 412 helicopter refresher in Barbados, helicopter instrument in Aruba, Bell 412 pilot training, and the Bell 412 pilot recurrent in the United States of America, as well as the Bell 206 helicopter ground and flight training in the United States of America. And of course, at this time, as the body makes its way into the Promenade Gardens, we hand you over to Michelle Abraham Ali as she takes us through the remainder of this program with all the tributes that will be given in honor of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles. And just as we await, as we go to Michelle Abraham Ali, we continue to remind you that despite all these training programs that Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles would have been part of, in 2021 he was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel by President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, and widely known as Mike Charles. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles lived and died in service. His years in the skies were shared with all Guyanese as he captured and conveyed the wonders of the vast country through videos and images, while his infectious smiles, wonderful posture and commitment to the service will be missed. His legacy will endure. And of course, the members of the Guyana Defense Force are now taking his body out of the hearse and will proceed directly under the gazebo here in the Promenade Gardens as we continue to reflect and honor the life and work of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles.
Press. Bring them forward and just rest them at the wheels of the casket. Ministers of the government, members of parliament, former President Donald Ramotar, Speaker of the National Assembly Mansour Nadir, members of the judiciary, Chief of Staff Brigadier Omar Khan and other heads of the joint services, former chiefs of staff and former servicemen and women, and other officers and ranks of the joint services and visiting military officers, members of the diplomatic corps, members of civil society, family members, Mom, Auntie Rosie, wife Anne, brothers Errol and Leonard, and Jonathan, Noah, Suan, and Rebecca, the children, nieces, nephews, other relatives, and friends. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to honor the life of 9506 Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles. We have gathered here at the Promenade Gardens for a few tributes to someone who has taken us all over Guyana, to places we never dreamt existed or perhaps never visited. We were introduced to Guyanese from so many beautiful communities. We have seen trees and animals and rivers, and he shared it all so freely. His love for aviation was infectious, and so infectious that it was fitting that his casket bearing his body returned to the city for the final time on a chopper he flew many times, the Bell 412, which was today flown by Lieutenant Colonel Anson Weeks and Lieutenant Dwight Bonus. Third crew, Mr. James Farley and Staff Sergeant Dwayne Jackson, one of the survivors. We are grateful for his recovery and continue to wish both good health and complete recovery. We have already had the funeral service at the Suez Dyke Church of the Nazarene, and for just 25 minutes or so, we hope to have about 5 tributes, providing each speaker can keep it to no more than 3 minutes this afternoon. Our first tribute will be done by Rear Admiral Dr. Best, former Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force.
Good afternoon, all. Permit me to stand in the protocol established already. And may I say that to give a short tribute to Mike is not an easy job. And may I also say that his passing has affected me tremendously and deeply. As I stand here today, to me, it is still surreal because I cannot believe that Mike has passed. In my own mind, and because of how I knew him, I saw him living decades on. So forgive me if I appear to be a bit disheveled. Let me say that Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, famously called Mike Charles, was an officer of impeccable character and standard. His was a service that saw no boundaries. His was a service that saw no end. Mike will always be ready for any mission and every mission. But in that readiness, he always said, I'm not perfect. I am always learning, and he continued to learn his craft and to share that knowledge with the officers and men around him. I do recall vividly when we were about to purchase 2 Bell 206 helicopters. I was the chief of staff at the time, and we had some differences of opinion on whether we should buy these particular helicopters or others. Mike was by my side, encouraging me positively to look at the merits and demerits of the different types of helicopters, and we finally agreed on those two Bell 206 helicopters. And he led the team to ferry those helicopters to Guyana. And notwithstanding the fact that they were smaller than what he usually would have flown, Mike took to those helicopters, took care to them, and kept them in service. In essence, comrades all, he was a good man. A man of valor, a man of substance, and a man of standards. To his wife, his family, his friends, his compatriots, his loved ones, I could only wish that you will find comfort in what he did and what he's left with us. A legacy of good command, a legacy of good piloting, and a legacy of being a very good person. May his soul rest in peace and his spirit rise in glory. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Rear Admiral Dr. Gary Best. Indeed, Mike was an extraordinary individual. Earlier at Suez Dyke today, our president regarded Mike as a true champion in the skies, a legend, and his knowledge of our hinterland was unparalleled. Small in stature, but such a massive heart. We can now take two open tributes, before we invite forward Miriam Corlett for a song. So the floor is open for two more tributes, two short tributes, as we do have our final stop at the Memorial Gardens for Mike. We continue to offer our condolences to his family, his colleagues, and friends. Ordinary Guyanese gathered around the promenade gardens, both inside and outside, saying farewell to Mike. Looking around for two persons who may want to pay tribute at this time, two short tributes. As our nation mourns the passing of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles this afternoon, and we will later rest the other 4 soldiers on Friday. If no one is coming up at this time, may I invite then Commanding Officer for the Air Corps, Lieutenant Colonel Mohinder Ramjag, for his tribute, after which Miriam Corlett will perform a song.
Ladies and gentlemen, all special invitees, I'm going to take it upon myself to this afternoon represent the pilots of Air Corps of the Guyana Defense Force to give a pilot's perspective on what possibly could have happened on that fatal day. Myself and Mike attended flight school at the same time. We were the same batch. Might have been 10 or 12 of us. But of course, Mike stayed on to serve much, much longer than the rest of the batch. And he ended up flying helicopters. Some of us ended up flying airplanes. Myself and Mike had a special bond, special friendship that started in the early 80s up until the day that he was reported missing. We always had lengthy conversations. The conversations focused on aviation, the Air Corps, and most importantly, safety. Safety was always his paramount goal. And we would always talk about the helicopter and getting it up to speed, 100%. And he was willing to work with the engineers and the mechanics of Air Corps. but we always talked about safety and what could be done to enhance safety of the helicopter and of the Air Corps. On that day, the weather was not good. There's a lot of speculation, but there are a number of things that could have happened that could have caused the fatal accident. Aircraft accidents normally require a thorough investigation because of the multitude of things that could have contributed to that accident. As a pilot in flight school, we are exposed to studying past aircraft accidents and learning from those accidents. And regardless of the skill and ability of the pilot and the performance of the machine that he or she might have been operating at the time, there are weather phenomenon and phenomenon in the atmosphere that far supersedes the power of a mechanical machine. There was one prominent accident back in the 80s, it might have been, a Delta Airlines flight going into one of the airports in Texas. At the time, this was the Lockheed L-1011, the most powerful commercial airplane at the time. Flew through what seemed like a rain shower, but they were hit by an atmospheric phenomenon called wind shear. Now, regardless of the skill of the pilot and the power of the machine, it's almost impossible to escape a wind shear. That day that Mike was flying, the weather was bad. It's very possible that wind shear might have been prevalent in the area, which would far have exceeded the performance of the helicopter. Regardless of the skill, it could have been the best helicopter pilot. Maybe it was Mike Charles. But the weather phenomenon perhaps was too significant for the machine to overcome. He passed doing what he loved, and he did it with a passion. And we're all going to miss him. And from the pilots of the Air Corps, and pilots generally, we love him and we will miss him. Thank you.
We are having tributes here at the Promenade Gardens for the late Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles. What an honor to have your casket draped in the golden arrowhead, our national flag. Now we will have the tribute from Commanding Officer Air Corps, Lieutenant Colonel Mohinder Ramjak. After which we will hear the song from Miriam.
Members of the Cabinet, former Chief of Staff, Head of the Joint Services, family members, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lieutenant Colonel Ramjak, the Commanding Officer of the Air Corps. It is with teary eyes and heavy hearts that we are gathered here to bid farewell to our husband, father, son, and aviator, the late Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, commonly known as Mike. Today, we gathered not merely as a military community, but as a nation in mourning, paying tribute to a distinguished officer, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles. As we reflect on his illustrious career we are reminded that heroes are not only defined by their actions on the battlefield, but by the impact they leave on the hearts of those they serve. Lieutenant Colonel Charles was a man of unparalleled dedication. And I say that for myself and my fellow officers. That is undoubtful. He soared through the skies for over 4 decades. 4 decades, 40 years, unimaginable. Unraveling the hidden beauty of our beloved Guyana through the lens of his camera. His passion for flying and serving the nation was not just a duty. The Commander-in-Chief reinforces this morning, but a calling that he pursued with unwavering commitment. As Guyanese, what's the first name that comes to mind when we see a helicopter in the sky? Michael Charles. As I reflect my memories we share with Lieutenant Colonel Charles, it becomes clear that his impact on our lives stretched far and beyond the confines of his profession. Mike was an embodiment of resilience, steadfastly refusing to let adversity cloud his determination. Mike Charles had a love for aviation and a romantic affair with the camera. The marriage of these two passions gave birth to breathtaking video of Guyana's landscape, river, flora, and fauna. The once remote and inaccessible treasures of Guyana were showcased in several of his ecotourism videos. Guyana's yours to discover. Lieutenant Colonel Charles knew every inch of Guyana at the back of his hand. He could name each mountain, each river, and each valley within our hinterland. He could tell whether a blue saki is a male or a female from 100 feet away. Sounds funny, but it's actually so. During the Guyana Folk Festival Award Ceremony in Brooklyn, on September 2nd, 2010, Mike Charles was presented the 2010 Guyana Cultural Association Award for his extraordinary work in photography. For Mike, flying wasn't just a career, but a way of life. It was evident in every exhilarating moment he spent navigating through the skies, gliding through the air with unparalleled grace and skill. Yet, what truly set him apart was his unwavering dedication to ensure the safety and security of those who entrusted their lives to him throughout his flying career. Mike's commitment to his craft was unparalleled as he strived effortlessly to integrate his skills with empathy, always putting those he flew for before himself. He was not just a pilot, but a guardian angel in the sky. In many of his flights to remote reaches of our country, Colonel Charles was welcomed by all, especially the indigenous children who were amazed by seeing his helicopter. He ate, slept, and lived among those of the local part of his family. I want to give you an example of how committed and patriotic Lieutenant Colonel Charles was. I will cite an example. Once, while flying back, the President of Guyana, after the visit by the late President of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, Lieutenant Colonel Charles saw an entourage, a funeral procession, proceeding along his bank to his home in Suzaik, and that was his father. What he did, he proceeded to land at Campangano, put off the president, and he made his way back to Mary, and then he attended his father's funeral. That's how committed and the passion he loved for satisfying mission assigned to him. Beyond his professional achievement, it was the radiant warmth of Mike's personality that endeared him to all those who knew him. His infectious smile and genuine care for others had the power to heal even the heaviest of hearts. Mike was a beacon of light, a true friend who always was there to lend an ear of advice and remind us all of the preciousness of life. In your final flight, Lieutenant Colonel Charles, you soar far above us. Your spirit forever etched in what is that vast expanse of the skies you love. As you say goodbye and release you onto the heavens, know that you will forever be cherished, forever be missed, and forever loved. Sleep on in peace, my brother, and may thou find eternal bliss amidst the azure realms you cherish so deeply. Your memories will forever live on and hover in our heart. May your soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine, that's your way. You always walked a step behind. I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face to hide without a name for so long. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I will fly higher than an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything, everything I wish I could be. Oh, and I will fly higher than an eagle. For you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I have it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Yes, I know it. We all would be nothing without you. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I will fly higher than an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything, everything I wish I could be. Oh, I will fly higher than an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. You are the wind beneath my wings. Fly, fly, fly away. You let me fly so high. Fly, fly, fly away. Thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And we're down to our final 4 minutes here at the Promenade Gardens. It's been a long day for the family, no doubt. And they have one more chapter on Mike's physical life here on earth, and that will be at the crematorium And so we can do one more tribute this afternoon. So I'll give that person an opportunity to come forward. At the crematorium, last rites will be done, followed by the 21-gun salute. Buglers will then blow the last post, followed by the Rivali, and that will mark the end of the military aspect of today, and then the family, of course, in privacy, will say goodbye for the final burial.
Good afternoon. Been a pilot in Guyana for 23 years, over the jungle. We call it the Broccoli's. And one of the fear as pilots we always have was that a man is only good as his machine is. And for many years, we have always had a fear of going down. Who is going to come look for us? I've known Mike for over 35 years. Means I was a little child when I first saw him flew the helicopter into Essequibo. Knew I had wanted to be a pilot. We met on several occasions. Of recent, at the Honorary General Rally, we met again. We spent about 30 minutes discussing some issues and challenges and a few things personally, most of which was flying. And he kept, the last thing he said to me, he said, Orlando, well, my name is Orlando Charles, but we're not related. So he said, Orlando, you always at the back there, and be very careful with your airplane and the weather. Check everything, every time, before and after. We took several pictures and we departed. Among some of the conversation that he had, even when he had retired, and we keep communicating, he says, Orlando, I wish that the government could really invest into some helicopters that could do search and rescues. I'm pushing for that. The 412, we want an upgraded up model 412. He got his heart desire. Thankfully for the government, they did invest it into two of the kind of machine that he had really wanted. The morning of the accident, I was minutes away from there. So I got a call from various personnel from the military, from the air traffic, and so forth. So I said, I'm very close by. I asked for the coordinates, and Captain Jimmy had sent me the coordinates immediately. Irrespective of the condition, I tried. I took off with my small airplane, and believe me, I was just like 1 minute away. I was that close, but that far. And for many people who might wanted to know what was the condition and everything else at the back there, I was on spot. The government tried their utmost best. They sent in the other chopper not so long after. I was there. I tried to get in. The morning, I can't get in. I get in close as a minute away from the site because my GPS has shown me that. I was a matter of 100 feet above the Broccoli's and maybe 100 feet below the ceiling. And there were intermittent drizzles. So I had to return to Blakesley, which is just 5 minutes away from there also. So every time the weather seems to give us a little clearance, I will take off and go to the spot, but I can't get here. The other helicopter came in. They had also tried, but similar. Until they finally got some clearance. And so unfortunate on that day. The weather was not as like it used to be for the past days and weeks. Until the following day, that the helicopter, I was flying when I got the clearance around and around and around and as slow as I can, and I could not have even see it still, or no one. It took the other helicopter to go there overhead and be very slow. And that's what is very important, that the government did have listened to his request, and hadn't been for that chopper that day, it would have also been difficult for them to find them. Maybe until like 3 days after, when the weather had really got much better. So when I got a message, I didn't ask who was the pilot. I didn't feel it was necessary, and two, I didn't want to think that it was my friend. But I answered to the call as a colleague and as a citizen of this nation. So, in closing, Mike has taught me many good things and a few bad things. He says, up to you if you want to listen to the good things. I says, well, I'm born and grew as a Christian, so are you, and I'll try my utmost best to maintain my Christian standard in my career, in my profession, and my daily life. We have heard so many speakers before. They have said most of it. And in my closing, I want to commend the government for having that second helicopter, that I could even be more confident that if I go down there, we still have another one to come by. And I want to thank the Guyana Defense Force. They have acted swiftly, because I was there as a matter of minutes from when I got a call and until they had retrieved all the bodies. And the Army would have done, in my opinion, the best they could have done to this point of time. So Mike, for all the planes we have flew, we will one day meet again, God's willing. Bless you all.
Thank you very much. Mike, our fallen hero, has left us, but will never be forever gone, as we just heard in that last tribute. Mom, Auntie Rosie, Anne, Mike's wife, Errol and Leonard, his brothers, and Jonathan, Noah, Suan, Rebecca, and other loved ones, and all of us across Guyana. This is where we will wrap up this aspect of the long farewell that we're giving Mike today, suitably so, as he now journeys through some of our city streets onward to the crematorium. And so the military pallbearers will come up once again. And we'd like to thank you very much for joining us this afternoon for this short but significant program. We thank all of you who've been tuned in, sending in your tributes. The family appreciates it. Will take time in their own time to go through and to acknowledge all of you who've been thinking, praying, and comforting them through social media and through other means. Thank you for joining us here at the Promenade Gardens for this tribute program. And now we will head to the Memorial Gardens, where there is going to be another military component, followed by the private burial Or just the family members will witness that. So we're saying so long to a true son of the soil from the Promenade Gardens here this afternoon. The GDF chaplain, Reverend Jacob Corbin, will lead the military pallbearers bearing the casket back into the hearse, after which the hearse will move through the city streets to the Memorial Gardens. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon physically here at the Promenade Gardens and online, as we continue to say farewell to a true son of the soil, a patriot, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles. On this Wednesday afternoon, the remains of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, we just heard in the tributes just now. Few they were, but quite solid, quite profound, acknowledging his prowess as an aviator. Mike Charles, Captain Mike Charles, or Mike, many people regarded him as Mike. He flew in the skies of Guyana for over 4 decades, 40 years, and now his physical remains, being borne by the military pallbearers, will be taken through some of our city streets onward to the Memorial Gardens, where he will be cremated. Many persons came out this afternoon here at the Promenade Gardens, and so many others like you tuned in via television and radio and social media, proclaiming your love, attesting to the quality of character and person that Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles was. The funeral procession will head to the crematorium. Once they arrive at the Liripidaire Cemetery, the family members will disembark from their vehicles and assemble. The military procession will have escorts and a firing party, band and drums. Bearers will move alongside the hearse, followed by family, relatives, and friends. The procession will march off in slow time for about 100 meters and then change into quick time. The ranks with rifles will reverse arms, and the officers with swords will also reverse them. Then the firing party, the hearse with the bearers, and the family members will enter into Memorial Gardens. The firing party will assemble on the bridge leading into the crematorium facing each other. Then the bearer party will retrieve the body from the hearse. The firing party will present arms and pass through the firing party and place it on a trolley. The bearer party will fold the flag. We're talking about the golden arrowhead that's draped on the casket currently. We'll fold it and hand it over to the Chief of Staff, Brigadier Omar Khan. He will stand north of the casket. Then the Chief of Staff will hand the flag over to His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, who will be at the center of the entrance to the crematorium. President Ali will then turn and hand the flag to Lieutenant Colonel Charles's spouse, Anne Fernandes. The last rites will be done, followed by the 21-gun salute. Buglers will then blow the last post, followed by the reveille. That will then mark the end of the military aspect. The family will then proceed in privacy for the cremation or the final burial rites. It's just about 15 minutes to 4 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon here in the capital city, where ordinary Guyanese have gathered with former heads of state like former President Donald Ramotar, members of the diplomatic corps, former military men, former chiefs of staff, commissioned and non-commissioned officers of the Defense Force, to say goodbye to Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles. And soon we will wrap up our broadcast to pick it up from Memorial Gardens, where Lyndon Davidson will join us. But on behalf of all of us who've been here this afternoon at the Promenade Gardens, we'd like to thank you very much for allowing us to share some of what Mike Charles meant to Guyana. We will have his pictures, his photographs, his videos that will remain etched in our memory, that we can use physically to pass on to generations. We already have a highway that's named in his honor and that of the other 4 soldiers. They will be laid to rest on Friday. The remaining 4 officers will be laid to rest on Friday. Similar military processions will take place as we've done this afternoon here at the Promenade Gardens. Someone shared here on our Facebook Live coverage this afternoon that as a child I was always in awe with his videos. We got to see so much of our beautiful country Guyana without leaving home. Was hoping to one day meet him, but I guess the Almighty had different plans. Rest in paradise, Mike. You will forever be missed. Condolences to your loved ones. And one more from Alexander Amunran Vanier from overseas. His videos were very informative and educational. You have your own wings now, Mike Charles, so keep flying high with your feathered friends above the beautiful trees you love so much. You know that you're not alone because this nation stands with you this dark December. Yes, the nation stands shoulder to shoulder, heads held high, in honor of these brave souls who gave their lives so others live with security, peace, and dignity. And so we are going to say so long from the Promenade Gardens this afternoon, where we've had tributes paid to the late Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles. As we can see, the hearse is now moving. It's departed from the Promenade Gardens, and it is going to make its way down Middle Street. Let me just quickly share with you the route before we wrap up this afternoon. So if you are along the procession, the funeral procession route that's taking the cortege, you would be able to join and to just come out and pay tribute to the late Michael Charles. We're hearing he's been described as selfless for all that he did, especially when he was on those search and rescue missions, those medevacs. A true patriot is what he has been described as. So the cortege will go east along Middle Street to Cam Street, south along Cam Street to Brickdam, east along Brickdam to Brummel Place, and then south along Brummel Place to Louisa Row, south along Louisa Row to Memorial Gardens. So if you're anywhere along the funeral procession route, you can come out and you can salute, you can say goodbye to Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles as we say goodbye from the Promenade Gardens. And thank you very much for tuning in as Guyana mourns the passing of our 5 military men.
She close up already.
personnel will disembark the respective transportation, and they, of course, will assemble in a particular order. We have the escorts and firing party, which will be followed by the bands and drums, the bearers, which will include the family members and relatives and friends as well. And then, of course, we have other marching detachments in that particular order. Now, the procession, once we get within 100 meters or so of the Memorial Gardens, they will change into slow time. That is, ranks with rifles will reverse arms, and officers with swords will reverse them. Now, only the firing party and hearse bearers will enter the cemetery. The firing party will assemble on the bridge leading into the crematorium facing each other. Now, the bearing party will retrieve the body from the hearse, and the firing party will present arms, pass through the firing party, and place it on a trolley. So we are awaiting the procession to leave the promenade gardens and to make our way east along Middle Street. Once we get to the intersection of Middle and Camp, then we go south along Camp Street to Brickdam, east along Brickdam to Bromont Place, south along Bromont Place to Louisa Row, south along to Memorial Gardens. Today, a nation pays tribute to Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, a man who has been described as a true patriot, a man who has been described, as you heard before, as being selfless, and a man who dedicated his entire life to service, not just to the Guyana Defense Force, but to country. And a career, a very distinguished career that spanned many decades. Certainly remembered for his contributions to the development of Guyana, and particularly as it relates to the industry of film and documentary, and for his captivating work that he would have done over the years. And it is indeed a sad day for the nation. Say goodbye to a true national hero, a man whose career has been decorated with many accomplishments and achievements. And the procession is now making its way, moving along Middle Street, that is east along Middle Street. Once we get to the intersection of Middle and Street, we're then going to proceed south Camp Street, making our way to Brickdam. Guyanese mom turned up to date tribute and to recognize the contributions of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles to Guyana, paying homage to him, and of course we're talking about an individual who really gave of himself to the nation. A career, like I mentioned, that spanned many decades. And we're talking about a career that spanned from 40 years of exemplary service, navigating the skies above Guyana's extensive hinterland and borders. A man who was truly able to paint and capture Guyana from above and share those experiences with us as a nation, and by extension sharing Guyana with the world. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles will always be remembered for his contributions to the development of that landscape of particular rates to film, and of course his extensive service in the Guyana Defense Force, contributions there as well. We've heard time and again from his colleagues, those whom he would have rubbed shoulders with, those who would have he had or played an integral role in training as well. And they all spoke about the attributes that truly made him a man who was loved and respected. So we've just made our way turning onto Brick Dam. So we're going east along Brick Dam to Brummer's Place. Once we get onto Brummer's Place, we're going to turn south onto Brummer's Place to Loiza Road, and south along Loiza Road to Memorial Gardens. And I mentioned once we arrive at the Memorial Gardens, and disembark the vehicles, it will be done in a particular order, and we're talking about the escorts and firing party, followed by the bands and drums. The bearers will be alongside the hearse, and mourners, and then we're talking about family, relatives and friends, and then we'll have the other marching detachments as well. And once we get within 100 meters or so, there will be a change into slow time. Now the ranks with the rifles will reverse arms, and the officers with swords will reverse them also. Now only the firing party and the hearse with bearers and mourners will enter into the cemetery. The firing party will assemble on the bridge leading into the crematorium, facing each other. The bearing party will retrieve the body from the hearse, which the firing party will present arms and pass through the firing party and place it on a trolley. Now the bearer party will fold the flag and hand it over to the Chief of Staff, who will be standing north of the casket. Alright, so the procession is now making its way on to Brummer Place. So we're going to proceed south along Brummer Place to Loiza Row, south along Loiza Row to Memorial Gardens, and I was explaining what will happen once we get to the vicinity of Memorial Gardens. Now, once the flag is handed over to the Chief of Staff, who will be standing north of the casket, the Chief of Staff will then hand the flag to the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, who will be standing in the center of the entrance to the crematorium. Then His Excellency will turn and hand the flag to Lieutenant Colonel Charles's spouse. So we've just turned on to Brummel's Place, and we are awaiting the Guyana Defense Forces band. To continue with the procession south along Brummel's Place until we get to the Rise Row. So we're conducting the Guyana Defense Forces band that is assembling. And they're doing so at the intersection of Brick Dam and Brummel Place. And indeed, today, the nation taking the opportunity to remember a man who would have contributed extensively to the development of Guyana, with a career spanning some 4 decades, an exemplary career. A man who gave of himself, gave of his life service to this country. And a man who will always be remembered for his contributions to the film, to the industry of film and documentary, and documenting Guyana's landscape from above. We all can attest to those mesmerizing and captivating images, different locations across the 10 administrative regions of this beautiful country we called home. And he would have certainly been able to share with us and give us a different perspective as it relates to what this country looks like from above. Today, a nation certainly paying tribute, a nation saying farewell, a nation recognizing those invaluable contributions that Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles would have made not just to the Guyana Defense Force, but to Guyana. So as we are on Brummel Place, making our way south along Brummel Place to Louise Row, we've seen the formation of the Defense Forces band. And we're waiting The instructions to commence the parade as we move south along Brummer Place, making our way to Louisa Row. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles served as an officer for 29 years before retiring in 2010. Throughout service, he completed various military enablers. Dedication, of course, was recognized with Military Efficiency Medal in 1987. He was awarded during the 60th year of service, and he also received the 40th anniversary medal for returning to service in 2011. He dedicated his final years, 12 years, to the National Defense Forces Air Corps. Procession is making its way south along Brummel Place to Louisa Row, and south along Louisa Row to Memorial Gardens. once we arrive at Memorial Gardens, there will be a particular order in which the color party will assemble. And in that order, we're talking about escorts and firing party. First, the bands and drums, followed by the bearers. Alongside the horse will be the mourners, of course, and we have family members and friends, and then other marching detachments. So as we make our way south along Brahma Place to Louisa Row, we're now entering we're coming over the intersection of Durban Street and Louisa Row. We'll proceed south to Louisa Row until we get to Memorial Gardens. Family of the late Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, accompanying the horse, holding hands. And the family, I'm sure, understand that as a nation, truly paying our tributes as a nation, continuing to honor a man who has dedicated his life to and force and back this beautiful country we call home. We've been seeing the outpouring of love and support of the fallen soldiers. And today, as we make our way south along Louisa Row, families, Guyanese align the streets and taking the opportunity to pay their tribute and respect for a man who will be remembered as a lover of country, a selfless man, and a man who was able to truly impact the lives of those men and women whom he came into contact with. As we approach the entrance of Memorial Gardens, the order in which the whole party will assemble will be in the order of the escorts and firing party, the bands and drums, followed by the bearers and mourners. We have other marching detachments as well. Now within 100 meters, the change will be made into slow time. Now ranks with the rifles will reverse arms, and officers' sword will reverse them. Now only the firing party and hearse with bearers and mourners will enter into the cemetery. Now the firing party will assemble on the bridge leading into the crematorium, facing each other. Now the bearer party will retrieve the body from the hearse, and the firing party will present arms. Now pass through the firing party and place it on a trolley. The bearer party will hold the flag, hand it over to the chief of staff, who will be standing north of the casket. The chief of staff will then hand the flag to the President of the Republic of Guyana, His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, who will be standing at the center of the entrance to the crematorium. President Ali will then turn and hand the flag to Lieutenant Colonel Charles's spouse. The last rites will be done, followed by 21-gun salute, and buglers will then play the last post, followed by reveille, and this marks the end of the military aspect of, and the family then proceeds to a private ceremony to execute the burial of the late Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles.
For none so fair as can compare with my own native land. Oh, beautiful Guyana.
Lieutenant Colonel Mike Charles was born on June 2, 1962. He commenced his dedicated career of service to the country on March 1, 1981 at the age of 18. His enlistment marked the beginning of 40 years of exemplary and devoted service, navigating the skies above Guyana's extensive hinterland and borders. In the early part of his career, he served at the 1st Infantry Battalion as a platoon commander before venturing into aviation in 1984. Upon joining the Air Corps,
the late Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, with a career spanning years in it, documented Guyana's escape and beauty for years, tired from bring more nickel metal box.
I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all his fears. They looked on him and were like me, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him, and saved him out of all his troubles. God is our refuge and protection, a very present help. Therefore we will not fear.
Get too much in front.
Though the earth be removed, and the mountains be carried in the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar, and be troubled, and though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof.
There.
To build a new Guyana, great and Guyana, great and free.
don't know. Can't run for this.
Spaghetti shotgun, yeah, over the father.
Bien así, ya.